Then we'll go into pretty much straight into the legacy portion.
Right.
I know, here we are, going to the finals. Edgar Flores versus Jonathan Winters. Welcome, I'm Gavin Verhey. I'm here with Adrian Sullivan. We're bringing you live coverage of the Star City Games Open Series here in Atlanta, Georgia. After an entire day of competition, yesterday, a little bit of top 8 competition today, here we are in the finals. 2 players. On your left, Edgar Flores, blue-white comp blade, a master of the archetype. He's been playing it since before Edison. He's learned how to play it really, really well. He picked up some open points and is like, I think I'm going to chase the dream. I'm going to fly around to all these tournaments, pick up more points, and he's done a good job of it. Now he finds himself in the finals trying to take down this event. He's going to be fighting, though, against a rough matchup. Jonathan Winters playing Rug. Rug is traditionally a little favored in this matchup, especially with the 4 Lotus Cobras main deck. Game 1 can be really rough if Jonathan Winters has access to a Lotus Cobra. And both lists seem pretty stock for the most part. John Winters with 2 Precursor Golems, an Oracle Moldai, Avenger of Zendikar, a Garruk Wildspeaker. Some pretty typical fare. And then Edgar Flores' list, the only interesting thing he really has going is 2 Mindic into the Royals, which AJ Soccer also adopted and made top 16 with in this event.
Right. And, you know, one of the criticisms that's been levied at the Caw-Blade lists as of late is that they have basically started pushing themselves into being very few Day of Judgments. 1 Day of Judgment in some lists, 2 in others. Right. And that one of the questions that was raised was, well, maybe people are going to start noticing that. And I believe that David Scharfman brought that up in our interview with him yesterday when he said, you know, I think people are going to start realizing that there aren't Days of Judgment. I'm still running them, and I'm taking advantage of the ways that people are starting to look at that. And Edgar Flores here, he has not shirked on his Days of Judgment. He is still running a fairly large amount. 3 is not 4, but 3 is still enough to expect to have a day by the time you get to a mid-game.
Yeah, and I think it's actually taking a really nice position in the metagame, because a lot of players are like, okay, well, Caw-Blade is cutting down on Day of Judgments. I'm going to board or play deck that isn't quite as strong as Day of Judgment, but they're not playing them. So it's okay. I can play my Naya deck. I can play my Elves deck. We can play Vampires like we saw yesterday.
Yeah,
But Edgar juked left and is like, well, everyone's playing these decks because of less days. I'm going to go back to playing more Day of Judgment.
Absolutely. And Harrison Greenberg doing as well as he did with Jumanji. You know, he top-8'd today, or top-8'd this weekend, and he lost to Charles Gindy. But a part of, I think, where one of his successes came from with the Jumanji deck is that with less days, it becomes less easy for someone to be able to resist a green-white beatdown there. And now Vengevine itself was already resisted today, but sometimes when you cast that second day, the Vengevines can't come back because you've just done enough work to the table. And sometimes, even if they are, a third day can really lock it out.
Yeah, and I mean, against any number of beatdown decks, those Day of Judgments just provide such a brutalization. We've seen a lot of games where, you know, if it's the player's like, well, if you have the day, you have it, because, you know, you only have 1 maybe, but against Edgar Flores, he has all 3, so...
And we're just getting started now. John Winters winning the die roll and opening up with an island.
And that's going to be important here, especially if he has that Lotus Cobra. It looked like he mulliganed down to 6, but being on the play, if he found a Cobra, going turn 2 Cobra on the play is an absolutely decisive move in this matchup. John Winters opting to pile shuffle on his Scalding Tarn.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here live from the Star City Games Open Series in Atlanta, and I'm joined by Gavin Verhey, and I'm trying to talk over the announcements. Good times. Once again, Star City Games Open Series here in Atlanta. Good morning, everybody. Adrian Sullivan here with Gavin Verhey. Turn 1 of the finals. John Winters opening up with a fetch for an island.
Yep, and looks like we're probably going to see Preordain here. John Winters shuffling pretty heavily. He really wants to make sure his deck there's enough Lotus Cobras everywhere for him to find. Alright, so here we go. Let's see what he finds. Looks like 2 lands. Grab his Copperline Gorge. And there's Preordain from Edgar Flores.
So dueling Preordains, looking for the turn 2 plays. Explore from John Winters.
It's no Lotus Cobra, but it will have to do. Still pretty good for John Winters. Puts him ahead on mana, which is exactly what he's looking for.
No play from Flores.
And it looks like to me like there's another Explorer in Jonathan Winter's hand. He definitely has.
Yes, he does have another
Yep.
Explorer.
And he has an Oracle Moldiah, so once he gets enough head on lands, he can drop that Spell Pierce from Edgar Flores.
Eats that.
And I'm sure John Winters is just trying to get to a point where he can drop that Oracle Moldiah.
Celestial Colonnade from Flores.
Yep. And there's Inferno Titan off the top for Jonathan Winters. And now John Winters has to decide, what is his play here? Is it time to go for Oracle Moldiah? Does he want to hold back? We've seen John Winters play pretty conservatively so far in this top 8, so I wouldn't be surprised if he just passed the turn. Last round we saw him play super conservatively against Corey McDuffie. Ended off both hurting him and then eventually paying off for him as he took down the match. We'll see how it performs for him this time. So yep, he sits on 5 lands, passes the turn back to Edgar.
Mana Leak, Inferno Titan, Oracle of Moldiah.
Yep. So I think he's trying to find a land so he can play Oracle with a Mana Leak backup. We'll see if he draws one next turn.
2 mana, drops Squadron Hawk. Is that okay? Yes, it is.
Alright, Hawk comes down.
Oh, incorrect.
Nope.
I saw him reach towards his deck. Mana Leak to stop that first Hawk.
And I think that's definitely correct. And now John, he drew a land, so he can't play Oracle with counter backup anymore. But I think you still just have to go for the Oracle. I think you play the land, represent your Mana Leak, and then go for Oracle. Or do you think you crack your Misty Rainforest first?
You know, I have been not very good at predicting John Winters' path when it comes to this. Lays the land, lays for the Oracle.
Yep, I like the Oracle here. And I think we're going to see that Mana Leak just come out of Edgar's hand. Yeah, he knows he has to go for it. Into the Royal sitting on the top of Edgar's hand right now. We know he has access to that. And John Winters has Inferno Titan in his hand, but he does not have the second red mana to be able to cast it. Let's see. Edgar looks like he has a Jace. That Jace, he knows John Winters doesn't have Mana Leak because John would have obviously Mana Leaked him back if he had the ability to. So I think he feels pretty safe in going for that Jace, which he does.
And right there, that's just so powerful.
Yep. So it looks like he brainstorms into a Preordain and 2 lands, one of which is Celestial Colonnade. He's going to shove 2 cards back and play Colonnade pass.
Okay, is there only 1 red source for John Winters?
Right. He cannot play Inferno Titan. So he reps Precursor Golem.
Is that a Precursor Golem?
I thought it looked like Precursor Golem to me. I thought I'm pretty sure he drew Precursor Golem, but he's not double fetching. Okay, no, he is double fetching. So yeah, here we're gonna see Precursor Golem enter the fray here, and Edgar Flores is into the Royal in his hands. This could be a gigantic beating.
Oh my God. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
The into the Royal with kicker against Precursor Golem.
It might actually happen here. In fact, I would say it's almost certainly going to happen. The Precursor Golem's ability can be a liability sometimes. This is one such instance. All right.
Ouch.
Make a bunch of 3/3s, pass the turn.
Using dice instead of Rashad tokens, I think, is probably what's going to doom that Precursor Golem.
You heard it here first. But yeah, Rashad can't be easily put back into the Royal.
No, you can't just, suppress Rashad like that. It doesn't work that way.
So Edgar Fate Seals John Winters, leaving the card there. And I think Edgar has figured out that he's in a really dominating position right now. He's going to drop his 6th land. He's got a Tech Edge too, so maybe we see Royal on the Golem and then Tech Edge down the Copperland Gorge.
Wow. Can you just the devastating power of that Tectonic Edge in this matchup?
Yep. So Tech Edge down Copperland Gorge. And yep, there's the land. Yeah, and he has it.
Boom.
Brutal.
1, 2, 3.
Draws 3 cards from Into the Royal.
Ouch.
Absolutely insane.
Oh, John Winters leans back in his chair and just basically looks like he got hit in the face. Back comes the Precursor Golem.
Well, there's the golem back, but I mean, Edgar certainly has plenty of answers available by now.
John Winters hands out, almost like saying, I don't have anything else here. What do you have?
Yeah. And please don't into the royal me again. Don't royal me, bro. And we'll see. Let's see. There's a Stoneforge Mystic and I think a Tumble Magnet on top of Edgar's library there. Let's see.
And Flores here is just clearly taking his time. You know, making sure he makes the right play. How many cards do you have? Just 2? Okay. Puts a few cards back. Lays his island.
And yeah, Stoneforge Mystic. Gonna shuffle some stuff away. Grab a sword.
Another awesome interaction. The Stoneforge and the Squadron Hawk. Just that first play of the Squadron Hawk and the play of the Stoneforge Mystic to shuffle away from the Jace, as if there aren't enough powerful abilities. There's another one.
Yeah, there's all the small interactions in the deck lead up to such a big advantage going long, because you can just have so much draw manipulation, draw power, and it's just phenomenal. So John serves in with his golems. Sends Stoneforge Mystic in front of one of them. So his golems are going to pose a problem. Edgar picked up 3 cards from earlier into the Royal, but he's still looking for the right answer. He's got Gideon Jura in his hand. And he can start using Jace -1 to kill off the tokens if he wants. I'm sure he's looking for a better answer than that. Searching for Day of Judgment or something similar. One of his 3 Day of Judgments, unlike many of the other Cobblade lists. Okay, there's Gideon. So his prot looks like he's going to go -1 or -2 rather, kill a token. -1 bounce the other token. And then Tectonic edges away John Winter's 6th land, and now he can Tumble Magnet down that Precursor Golem, and then Gideon it away next turn. So Gideon will assassinate, and the Planeswalkers are able to deal with that Precursor Golem rather handily. So yeah, let's see, Squadron Hawk, Sword, Gideon all sitting in his hand. So Edgar has a backup Gideon in case things go awry. Goes for Brainstorm on Jace. Good call. He draws another Tectonic Edge, which will knock off that Raging Ravine. And there's a Sword. He's activating Gideon, shipping at the Sword, going to drop Squadron Hawk as a blocker for the Golem, unless he wants to Tumble Magnet it away. He can do either. And gets the cards and shuffles the rest of it away. Yet again, another nice shuffle effect with Jace, the Mind Sculptor. And yeah, that's it. John Winters knows when he's beat. And awesome. So here we are. 12 months of premium is on the line here. So for those who haven't done this, don't know how this works, go on to Twitter, put in the hashtag #SCG Premium, and we'll choose one person who gives out of all the right answers to this question, and that person will win 12 months of free premium, 12 months of reading some of the best articles in Magic. Here's the question. We're going to wind back the clock, way back from the top 8, and see how many of you can get this question correct. Yesterday, our first feature round...
All right, players.
Whoa. I'll wait till this announcement goes. Not sure what happened there. All right, so yesterday, first round that we covered on camera, what was Ali Entrazi playing? We covered him in the first round of featured camera matches yesterday, which I believe was round 3, correct?
Yes.
So round 3, what was Ali Entrazi playing? Tweet at us the answer. Make sure to put in the hashtag #SCG Premium. Let's see how many of you guys can get this one correct. If you've been watching all day yesterday, all day today, you should know the answer. Let's see how many of you guys can do it.
Even if you aren't somebody that watches these all day, every day, there's still the answer lurking in our coverage background for the Star City Games live series in Atlanta.
Yep, you should be able to find it somewhere. In the meantime, the players are sideboarding up. How do you think they're going to move here? I mean, Edgar's definitely bringing in those ousts, but what else do you want?
You know, I know he's going to bring in the ousts. I'm confident he's going to bring in Volition Reigns. But I think he's definitely going to bring in the Sun Titan. And I know you mentioned that you didn't think he was going to bring in the Jace Beleren, but I think that this is a Jace fight, and I think you want to bring Jace Beleren to a Jace fight. Also, you know, when we look at the ability of his opponent to fight a counter war, his opponent has access to the 4 mana leaks and 1 deprive. So he doesn't have a huge amount of counter spells. Whereas with Jace Beleren, bringing in the flash freezes, between the flash freezes and the mana leaks, and maybe perhaps some number of the spell pierces, it's really possible that a Jace Beleren can hit the table and Edgar can almost start playing draw go, particularly given the way that John Winters seems to play so ponderously. You know, John Winters he's very willing to slip into a much more controlling position in this matchup, and I don't know that that's the way he wants to go, but that's how he's playing the cards. On Winter's side, Frost Titan, Deprive, and Tumble Magnet are going to be the cards he brings in, which strikes me as, given that he doesn't want to probably change the way that his deck looks laid out. In the previous matchup, I think he just took out the Lightning Bolts. Maybe he took out a Garruk. I like Garruk in the matchup, but I think it's possible he took it out. But he just got Precursor Golem returned to his hand by a kick into the Royal. And with that happening, his opponent getting 3 free cards off of that, he might just take those Precursor Golems out of there just to make sure that that doesn't happen again. That was just devastating. You know, I think that one of the things living the dream in this matchup is, we said before, oh, wouldn't it be awesome to get that into the Royal on a Precursor Golem? And seeing how that happened there, John Winters might be running scared of his Precursor Golems.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Plus, he knows that there's significantly more answers in Edgar Flores' deck now. He has access to Oust, which, while not insane on a Golem, like, it does deal with all the Golems, sets them back a turn.
Right.
I don't think he's going to bring in his Divine Offerings, but he does gain those Ousts. He also has Volition Reigns,
right,
which can steal a Titan or something like that over the top. But there's this interesting dance where Precursor Golem is better against, you know, card like Volition Reigns, but it's way worse against cards like Into the Royals. How do you want to board here? And I feel like Golem might be a card that John Winters wants to take out.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of strange because Golem is there for this matchup, amongst other things.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Normally you want the Precursor Golems here, but they're actually kind of a liability. But with only 2 Into the Royal sitting in Edgar Flores' deck, it might be right to just go for it and take that risk. I mean, he has to have one of the 2 Into the Royals for it to happen. Plus,
here at the Atlanta StarCityGames.com Open Weekend. Thank you all for coming out.
Hear the announcements for the Legacy Open in the background.
Announcements before I hand you over to your head judge. During matches today, please keep all food and drink off of the table. We do not want to turn any dual lands into underground teas.
You can hear the announcements in the background. Jared Silva,
Today,
Master of Ceremonies.
Electronic devices that you own off, and do not answer any cell phones. Do not have any iPods plugged in. If you do have a cell phone that you need to be able to answer, EMT personnel, active military, or expecting a child, in that case, why are you here? Then please just let us know and we can make an exception for you. If you do want to use your iPhone or your Droid as a scorekeeping device today, that is perfectly fine. However, it does need to remain on the table and accessible and visible to both players. With that, can I have anyone who has an empty seat across from them, please raise your hand.
And we're seeing them take their first hands. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me with the announcements resoundingly loud over me.
In front of one of these people raising your hand.
John Winters opens up with what looks like a Raging Ravine. Edgar Flores responding with a land. Could be a Seacrum Coast, I think. His hands are over the cards. A Copperline Gorge, putting a Viki
Thank you, everyone.
Lotus Cobra, which is not responded to by Edgar Flores. This puts John Winters in a very commanding position in this situation.
From North Carolina, Sam Strauss.
John Winters does have land in his hand. Now, Winters attacks in a way that he wasn't able to attack in the previous matchup. He knows that that Flores does not have Condemn, so attacking with this is absolutely safe. Land gives him access to a Tumble Magnet.
Once you have done that, I'm going to go
Tumble Magnet eats a Spell Pierce.
to review their deck list. Please make sure you have a main deck minimum 60 cards and a 15 or 0 sideboard.
Flores says go.
Okay, go ahead and do that now.
Land, go. Playing into the draw-go world here. John Winters, still with mana in his hand, has acquired a Jace the Mind Sculptor in his hand. No way to cast it yet. If he does get a fetch land, he'll be able to put it in and cast it, but he would be casting it into the possibility of a mana leak. Laying any land would give him that Preordain in his hand, but he does not have a land to play. 4th mana from Edgar Flores. The coast is clear if he wants to try to resolve a Jace. Says go. More counters perhaps in hand, and John Winters draws an island. Very, very valuable card for him right now. Winters trying to figure out what to do here. Lays the island. Gets a mana in his pool if he wants it, perhaps for that Preordain in his hand. There it is, Preordain.
So, party list for today, like at all Star City events, is going to be 0 and 10.
Does look like John Winters has a Burst Lightning in his hand. Yeah, that is a Burst Lightning. I see Burst Lightning, I see a Jace. There might be a second Jace in that hand as well.
We do have 211 players today. It's going to be 9 rounds of splits with the top 8.
The Preordain from the Lotus Cobra mana
Raise your hand in the air and call for
buries one card and draws into the hand another Preordain.
If you do not like the Gorge Judge's ruling, do not believe it is correct, have any sort of problem, you do have the right to appeal.
Once again, in comes the Lotus Cobra for 2.
My rules will be final for the day. With that, judges,
Does look like double Jace, Burst Lightning, Mana Leak.
players, please remain seated till
2 mana comes down. Stoneforge Mystic just past the ability to be mana leaked. It resolves.
Jeremy Thompson, AJ Sasser, please remove the name on the stage.
And then we see the Burst Lightning that John Winters boarded in take out the Stoneforge Mystic.
So yeah, he did bring that Burst Lightning in.
Lotus Cobra is ready to come to march the party once again. Another mana for John Winters. He stumbled on mana for a second there, but that first mana that he found gave him the access to a Preordain, which then there's the island that he wants, and now he's got even more mana. He should be fine on mana from now on in.
Yeah, and man, that Lotus Cobra, once again, just giving him access to so much mana. It's completely insane.
People kind of made fun of the Lotus Cobra when it was first printed as not being worthy of being mythic. And I think Zvi Mauschwitz showed everybody just how mythic that guy could be.
Yeah, I mean, literally with the deck it was in. It's funny, when it came out, like, preview to Mike Flores' column, people thought it was unbelievable. Came out, not much happened, and then over time, people started to figure out how to abuse it.
Yeah.
And the way to use it best is not just to, like, play a 5-drop, you know, like trying to live the dream every time. It's just, it gives you a mana every turn. Sometimes it gives you 2 mana, and it's a nice 2/1 body to boot.
I mean, one of the things that people tried to do initially was, you know, as you said, live that dream, cast that incredibly early Cruel Ultimatum or Violent Ultimatum, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, that and plus, I mean, yeah, people just try to go for acidic slimes, and sometimes it's just best as a leaf gilder, and, you know, I'm okay with that. to an accelerator that has the potential to do so much more. And with Fetch Lands, it's obviously just insane. So Stoneforge Mystic for Edgar Flores.
Number 2.
And got a Lotus Cobra sitting over there for Jonathan Winters. And let's see what he does. He's got Garrick in his hand. He's got Mana Leak, looks like Jace.
I think he's got 2 Jaces, in fact.
A lot of powerful spells. 1, 2, 3. So you can cast one of them and have Mana Leak untapped.
And what's he going to go for? Opens it up with Garrett, maybe?
Just an O player
Jace.
Yep, there's
Going
Jace.
for the big guy.
At SCG Open Pairings on Twitter. We are
Yep.
having some connectivity issues with our internet right now, so they have not yet been posted. But you should be looking for those each round.
And let's see, what do you think you do here? You just brainstorm?
With the Atlanta.
I think, are we still, yep, Edgar does say that it works.
You could probably brainstorm.
I mean, that colonnade on the other side of the table it can really chop at that Jace, but that taps Edgar Flores down really far.
Right, and you have another Jace in your hand to follow it up with.
Absolutely. Bounce.
Alright. Have been posted. Please find your seats for the draft open.
Bounces.
In for 2, knocking Edgar Flores down to 10.
And just slowly whittles away at Edgar's life.
Surprisingly cold. Come on.
Leaf Gilder it is not. Can attack too, in addition to making mana. And now Edgar's got to figure out what he's going to do here. He's got so many options, but the question is how much time does he have? Plays Squadron Hawk and goes to search. Oh, waiting for Jonathan Winters again. Players looking over the board. I love this dual view.
Yeah,
so
me
good.
too. The technology side of SCG Live, I feel like it just keeps getting better.
Yep, every week. Rashad just adds something new. We're going to be like broadcasting from spaceships by the time we're at the Invitational in just 2 months. Speaking of that, you can qualify for the Invitational yourself. Go to StarCityGames.com/IQ. Invitational qualifiers near you. Winner gets to qualify for the StarCityGames.com Invitational with more money than a Grand Prix being gave out. All the best players are going to be there. You're not going to want to miss it. And, back to the game. Jonathan Winters goes for Mana Leak, wants to tap Edgar Flores, basically out of mana.
Now, if you're Edgar Flores, what are you thinking when he casts a Mana Leak into your board like that?
You're thinking, why is he doing this? Why is cutting him off of mana important? What am I going to need this mana for, potentially? Let's see.
Do you let him counter you with the Mana Leak there, or I mean, he's thinking, he's tanking it right now.
Right. I mean, he's trying to figure out how he could deal with a Titan if he tapped low enough. Okay, so he goes for a Mana Leak back. So he saves 1 mana in doing so, allowing him to hold up another counter spell. And interesting world. So he uses Mana Leak as more or less a 2-mana Dark Ritual, a desperate ritual, as it were, to pay for that Mana Leak.
He untaps.
And let's see what we have going on for Jonathan Winters. Jonathan has the Jace advantage right now, which is going to prove to be pretty important. I mean, as it always is. But especially so here when the blue-white deck doesn't have a ton going on Edgar's side. And he's going to be able to reel his way ahead, grab Inferno Titans, grab whatever big endgame he's looking for. And that Jason, or that Garrick in his hand is going to make things even more threatening.
Absolutely.
Players.
Let's see.
Start the round. We do have a player who is missing a deck in a red ion deck box. If you have found it, there is a reward for its return.
Tapping 3.
Please bring it up to the game in that stage. A player is.
There's Garrick. I think Edgar's got a Flash Freeze in his hands.
With that being said, welcome to
There is the Flash Freeze. Garrick goes to the yard,
Yep.
countering the Garrick. Definitely a little blow, but not like with that J still on the table.
Yep. So he goes Unsummon on Squadron Hawk, not brainstorming. which is interesting. I mean, we've seen Jonathan Winters play really conservatively in these matches, and maybe that's the secret. Maybe you have to play conservatively against the blue-white decks. But the issue is he's running low on cards. He just has that other Jace right now. So I think we're going to see Raging Ravine enter the fray here. That'll drop Edgar Flores down to
5 or 4. It'll drop him down to
4 life, yeah. So we've seen Jonathan Winters play really conservatively, but in this match, in this position, he's going on the aggressive. He's just going to serve in for 6, chopping Edgar down to 4 life.
I think that's what you want to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I like being aggressive here. I mean, it feels kind of weird not having cards in your hand, but your Jace is still there. You have a backup one in case things go awry. And we'll see what happens. Edgar goes down to 4. Now let's see what he goes for. All right, there's Squadron Hawk. That's going to do some good blocking. This time it resolves. Let's see what's going on. Searches up the other 2 Hawks left in his deck. And how many of those Hawks is he going to play? That's the question. It looks like Edgar is gripping 2 Swords of Feast and Famine. So he's going to be able to get in eventually if he wants. He knows John Winters doesn't have a good way to deal with Sword. Just opts go for double Hawk. And what he doesn't know is there's a second Jace hiding in Jonathan Winters' hand. Oh, and a freshly drawn Inferno Titan. And that Titan is going to pose a big problem. Edgar is representing counter mana, but I think at some point the Titan's going to hit play and will really hurt Edgar with his life total at only 4 currently. Let's see what Jonathan Winters chooses to do. He's been bouncing Edgar's creatures the past couple turns, but now I don't know if he can afford to do that any longer. And he knows Edgar might have a way to deal with the Raging Ravine if he attacks with it. He could block it or otherwise. Let's see. Looks like he brainstormed. Yeah, guessing by the surging of cards in his hands, that's what he opted to do. So now it's a question of what the correct play is. And Jonathan Winters thinking it through. He knows this is an important decision. He's going to put 2 cards back. He's going to have a fetch land to shuffle them if he wants. The question is, what is he going to cast? He's going to go for Inferno Titan this turn? If that Inferno Titan lands, he wins. Most likely. But let's see if he's going to go for it. He taps some mana. Nope, looks like Raging Ravine. Just going to continue. Oh, maybe not. He taps it. I thought he was going to put it in the red zone, but he just taps it for mana. Yep, there's Inferno Titan. Edgar finds the Flash Freeze in his hand, pulls it out. Pretty happy to have gotten rid of that Inferno Titan. And oh man,
4 life is so little life at this point.
Yeah, I mean that Inferno Titan was going to do a big damage to Jonathan or Edgar Flores, but John chose to go for it now. Once again, it's interesting. John's played really conservatively up until this point. Now he seems to be going on the aggressive and changing his play up a little bit, and he ran that Inferno Titan right into a Flash Freeze from Edgar Flores there. Now, despite being at 4 life, Edgar's maybe in a position to get back in the game. He has swords in his hand that he can connect with next turn. Knock that Jace out of John Winters' hand. So he's going to just serve in and offer the proposition to trade up a Hawk with a Lotus Cobra. Proposition usually you're pretty happy to take.
Sounds like a great proposition.
And I think Edgar has to take that deal here.
Standard win a box. We already filled one up to the main event.
I mean, he's at 4. I don't think he can afford to go to 2, especially since he knows John Winters has Lightning Bolt and Burst Lightning in his deck.
Yeah.
And for those of you who weren't standing right here, we are now taking time for all of our 8-player side events. That means booster grabs.
So I think you just have to block.
And 4-player EDH games. So if you're interested, come on up to the main event stage and see me on the left-hand side of the stage.
Man. And just thinking about it, he's just trying to make sure, am I not seeing something? What is the right play? Yeah, he's eventually figures that out. He's like, there's no reason why I shouldn't block here, and he blocks. So, Lotus Cobra out for John Winters, and now Squadron Hawk over there for Edgar Flores.
This does mean that a sort of Feast and Famine, if it takes out the Jace, it's not going to allow for an untap.
Right.
It's probably...
The question is, do you think you fight Jace here, or do you think you attack him? And he just goes for him.
Yeah.
It forces him to discard Jace, sometimes all of his lands. I like the play. I like attacking him.
That Jace that's out there, it's pretty weak, and the other Lotus Cobra can take care of it. Oh, and Jace for the Jace.
Yeah, and so the Jace is straight up. I like Edgar's play here.
Is there a Tectonic Edge over there, or no?
It doesn't look like it. Okay.
There we go.
Another Squadron Hawk.
John Winters sacrifices a land, fetching up just basically to thin here.
Yeah, I mean, he knows Edgar's at 4. He knows he's slowly falling behind. He wants to increase his chances of drawing whatever he needs to win the game, be it an Inferno Titan, Lightning Bolt, all kinds of a couple answers he's got. I mean, Double Burn Spell would do it. Inferno Titan would do it if it resolved. I'm not sure if Edgar has a counterspell or not.
That Raging Ravine is going to be able to edict one of these hawks. Mana is being held open by Edgar Flores, representing a spell, Mana Leak, or Flash Freeze, particularly because he could have otherwise moved that sort of Feast and Famine over. Raging Ravine, if nothing else, is still green.
Yep. And I mean, I think if you're Edgar, you probably hold it up here. Let's see. Jonathan Winters very quick not to show us what the card he drew. So he's tapping mana. Is he going to get that Ravine in there? Oh, or not.
Oracle.
Oracle, that is a good one to draw.
Ooh,
shows off
Frosty.
a Frost Titan. Man, that Oracle is a very good draw.
What he's going to hope
Winters.
is that the top of his library has some untapped land so that the Frosty can get past a Mana Leak.
Let's see. Edgar's going to take 5. Is this going to be fast enough? I don't know. Edgar's Colonnade available. He can serve in. I don't know if that's even going to be good enough to win this game, though, because that Colonnade's going to come in. Oh, another sword.
Oh my goodness, it's not fast enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Edgar Flores, I think he's going to have this.
6 damage brings John Winters down to 9.
John's going to play it out to the end to not throw anything away prematurely, but
The sword is moved to the other claw. Now, I think that what you end up having to do here with this Frost Titan is I think you end up having to put that Frost Titan on the Celestial Colonnade.
see what he does. I think Edgar's got this. We know the cards in John Winters' hand. Edgar knows what's in John Winters' hand. And I think John is trying to figure out if there's any way he can buy another turn. And I don't think there is one.
Well, if he hits the Colonnade with the Frost Titan, I think that does it. That he survives one more turn.
Thought for sure Edgar had the second Colonnade hidden between all those foil lands, but perhaps not. It's difficult to Edgar's deck makes it very difficult to see what he has in play.
Yeah, besides those sleeves, the foilies.
Already got a standard winner box number 2.
Now, the Frost Titan puts forth a pretty difficult proposition to Edgar Flores. you can't just attack with everything but one, or the Frost Titan kills you. You have to hold back at least two creatures.
John just corrected his fetch land there.
Wow.
But so that the attack from Edgar will bring John down to 1 life. Double sword, Squadron Hawk, but
He's looking here for another Raging Ravine, really.
3 more people to fill up a $10 booster draft. Also, I am taking sign-ups for the second draft, though, that will happen at 2 p.m.
Let's see what he goes for.
He shuffled away an Explorer there, right?
I think so. All right, so what are you looking for on the top of your deck here if you're John Winters?
Raging Ravine. And there's the Explorer again.
Huh. Comes back.
It's not terrible. Okay. I can't make out what Flores has in his hand. I think there's a land and something. Can you see what that other card might be?
Looks like Day of Judgment.
Wow.
But Day is not a card that he feels the need to cast right now. I guess he could and just win with that Colonnade, but
the Raging Ravine on the other side of the table makes that a sketchy proposition.
yeah, I don't like that. Let's see, what is Edgar gonna do?
He's got to still be cautious here. That Frost Titan really changes the way the math works out.
He does have to be cautious to a fault. I mean,
the Raging Ravine can kill him, the Frost Titan can kill him, and the Frost Titan will take out one of the defenders.
right, and because of that Explorer, Edgar doesn't really know what John Winters is going to be able to draw next turn. Could easily be something very strong hiding on the top of his deck.
Deals 3 damage, making the kill next turn something that is essentially inevitable. Now, does he want to cast the Day of Judgment? Nope, good. I saw him tapping the mana.
No. Yeah, I mean, if you go for the Day, that means you have to trade your Colonnade. Not even trade, you have to throw away
Throw it
your
away.
Colonnade.
I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no way
didn't-
that's good.
Yeah, he's moving it, right?
Welcome to the event stage for your Winnabox. Matthew Hatch. Come on up for your Winnabox event.
So he moves over to the other Squadron Hawk. Has enough
What
mana.
a close game, too, here.
It is close. I feel like Edgar still has the decided advantage, but we'll see what's on the top of the John Winters deck. Preordain.
Wow.
More mysteries. I mean, Edgar's got it next turn.
This is almost certainly going to be the last turn for John Winters.
Yeah,
I want to see some more magic between these two decks, so for this game, I want John to get it.
Yeah, it is close. All right, here's the Explorer. He's going to find that Preordain. Oh, there's a Jace on top of his library. And John can play up to 3 lands this turn, too, giving him plenty of mana, depending on how he sets his cards up. Let's see what he chooses to do. I mean, you think you have to cast that Preordain, right?
Absolutely.
So down comes the Preordain. Let's see.
I see a land there.
I also see a land. So Jason land.
And they're discussing what gets revealed now because of the Oracle.
Right, and it's only the top card gets revealed. You're just looking at the other card. So he knows that there's a Jace there, but does not know what the second card is. But let's see what he chooses to do. John Winters trying to figure out if that Jace is going to be enough. And if he plays it, the Brainstorm is obviously pretty powerful. What do you think you do if you're John Winters? Do you ship them or keep the Jace? Let's see, if he keeps the Jace, he can play it out. Oh, well, can't see the board as clearly now, but if you kept the Jace, you could play it out. You could bounce one of the Hawks. The Hawk with the sword, probably. And then bounces the Hawk with the sword.
I don't like the Jace in his hand unless he's looking for a lightning bolt.
Yeah, I mean, you can do the whole draw 3 thing.
Looking for Lightning Bolt would mean that one of the Hawks wouldn't connect when it attacked, which could keep him alive.
Right.
And then he attacked with the Frost Titan, tapped down the Celestial Colonnade.
Yeah, there's also the problem that if he taps down the Colonnade, then the two sorted creatures can trade for the Frost Titan. And I don't know if John Winters wants to lose it, but I mean, I think he has to attack this turn. I mean, this is likely John Winters' last turn. So, okay, he leaves the Jace on top. If John Winters gets... Oh, Inferno
Wow.
Titan. If John Winters gets another turn, I'm pretty sure that means that he's going to win. Or
Wow.
Edgar's playing really conservatively. So, we'll see. Here comes Jace.
Now imagine if he hadn't put that Jace there, that Inferno Titan would be the lights.
Would it?
I think so. Am I wrong there?
So draws Deprive, Inferno Titan, Island. Pretty good 3 cards.
Not good enough if you ask me. There it is. Oh, Edgar Flores.
Edgar Flores, congratulations.
There we go, Edgar.
Takes down the event after showing off his deck week after week after week after week. Finally gets into the finals. Close game, 2, and Edgar just takes it down. Congratulations.